it, and then 9 and 10 obviously we need to look at it.
The Redwall sessions were really eye-opening because it was something we hadn't really done before, just getting in a live room together and playing with all the other stuff going on as well. And again, making music off the cuff, as it were. I know we were playing songs that we know well and that we play live, but it somehow seemed different doing it in that setting. I'd like us to play live more. The problem is always finding the right kind of setting. The music we make doesn't always easily fit into people's idea of what a live band should do. But I think a lot of people would be surprised if they saw us, particularly now that we've added Phil on drums, and realise that, it's not just something that needs to be studio-based, that actually with the visuals and all of that stuff happening all at once, that it can be a pretty kind of good experience,
We try and write music that doesn't sound as if it's from a particular point in time. There's always been, there's composers or jazz musicians who, the sort of the cliche about sort of playing what's not there. Well, it's true to an extent. So, for my own personal, the way I play, it's about just finding the right notes. Sometimes we're a little bit suspicious of music that sounds as if it's been written to showcase the talent of an individual performer. I think some music like that is written with that in mind, it can sound soulless. You'll never find a solo in a Marconi Union track. There's a lot of ambient music which it doesn't have a musicality, and what we try and do is bring a sense of music to the sort of the ambient genre, if you will, but that's not all we do. I think most musicians would say that they would want listeners to be able to identify them through what they play. With Marconi Union, you have to leave any sort of musical ego you have. You've got to leave that outside and just focus on what is required by the sound.
My first real big influence in music came from the punk scene, which is kind of ironic really, because I've never actually played in a punk group. I guess there's no written rules or strict formula to what we do, but there's a continuity in what we end up achieving, and I think that just is a natural thing in the way that we think and we play what we play. I tend to play guitar in a minimal fashion. The less notes, the more you concentrate on the notes that you actually play. Working with the rhythm section has been really interesting, especially in a live situation. It just feels really comfortable to have more people playing and relying less on sequences. I'm not even sure what ambient music is anymore. I'm not too sure whether I ever knew what ambient music stood for. I think there's so much music around these days, it's really difficult to find something that's different and unique. Maybe that's where music is now, it's reflective as opposed to looking towards the future.
I do a lot of sampling of kind of everyday items. You know, I like to bang things together, and or maybe go out with a little recorder and just record sounds, sometimes just in my own garden or whatever, you know. There's nothing very exotic about it, but then you kind of get those noises and you treat them and process them and resample them and things, and sort of suddenly they kind of throw up kind of pictures for you, and that's the moment that really excites me. I guess one of the things that works really well between us is that we all have kind of different areas of what we do, and we kind of have enough respect for each other that you're kind of willing to go with that person's judgment about what they're doing and like just piece it together, and usually it just seems to work out fine. I guess like on the musical side of things, I've been influenced by just loads of stuff, but you wouldn't necessarily know it from listening to what we do. You know, it's not obvious because it's kind of like maybe the spirit of something that's in there that is what I want to recreate, rather than the actual notes and chords and so on. We often get called enigmatic, and We're not enigmatic, really, in the sense that people say. We're not particularly difficult. We're straightforward. We just want to do things that are only related to music, and we just want to do them to the best of our ability. And we're not really happy to set up a second best, you know. It's like we value the Marconi Union name, and we're not going to release anything that we think is substandard. We've got too much respect for what we do.